You may have heard by now that Neil deGrasse Tyson, the celebrity scientist, has been accused of rape by a woman and also been accused of inappropriate sexual advances or harassment by two other women. So now it's three women that have come forward to accuse Neil deGrasse Tyson of highly inappropriate behavior. The first woman who accuses him of rape says that he drugged her and raped her, and that he then threatened her. She was an astronomy student at the University of Texas in Austin. She says that he threatened to destroy her career if she went public, and says that he abused his academic position to get blowjobs from other undergrad students, and then threatened to destroy their careers if they talked about it. Now, you might be wondering, are these allegations to be believed? And let me just remind you that according to the standards of the left, that is Dianne Feinstein, Cory Booker, all the left-wing people, including the entire left-wing media, New York Times, Washington Post, according to them, merely being accused means that Neil deGrasse Tyson is guilty, that he is a rapist, according to that logic. But of course, that logic is nonsense. But that's what they did to Brett Kavanaugh. That's what they do to everybody who's a conservative. They say, oh, that person must be guilty because they've been accused. But you and I know that just merely being accused doesn't equal a fact that it happened. And by the way, the rape allegation is from 4 years ago, from the year 2014. And we didn't report on it at that time because it was a lone allegation. It was not corroborated by any other women who were stepping forward with a similar experience of being raped by Neil deGrasse Tyson. So we didn't even report on it. We only report on it now because now three women are accusing Tyson of behavior that is a pattern. And that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson now sort of resembles the Bill Cosby of science. Remember, Bill Cosby would invite women to his room, and he would say, he's going to help your career. And then, here, have something to drink, and pretty soon you're unconscious, and you wake up, and you've been raped, and you've got, Bill Cosby semen all over you. Yeah, I know, pretty gross, but that's what he did to apparently like 50 women or something. I mean, a huge number. So Neil deGrasse Tyson, to accuse him of being the Bill Cosby of science, you need to have something more than just one allegation. You need to have a pattern of behavior. That's what's starting to emerge here. The other point worth noting here is that I don't believe allegations against people who are in the independent media, because if you're questioning the scientific establishment, of course you're going to be attacked. Of course you're going to be slandered, smeared, lied about, because the establishment hires negative PR companies to run those kinds of things. But Neil deGrasse Tyson he's the champion of mainstream science. He pushes GMOs, he pushes vaccines, he pushes water fluoridation, all the things that are toxic to us. He's a champion of mainstream science and globalism and all that stuff that the media is pushing. And thus, allegations against him must carry more credibility, because there's no institution that's trying to destroy Neil deGrasse Tyson. These are grassroots allegations, in essence. They have to be organic. In other words, they're coming from real people. They're not, someone wasn't hired to attack Neil deGrasse Tyson. There isn't some negative PR company that's trying to destroy Neil deGrasse Tyson. These are genuine women. Whereas if there's a rape allegation against, let's say, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's, he's exposed the truth about glyphosate and Monsanto and vaccines, if there were rape allegations against him, I would immediately say that's contrived, that's manufactured, because they're trying to shut him up. You see the difference? Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's the poster child of mainstream science, pop culture. And so allegations against him are probably true. And plus, we've got 3 women now, and who knows how many more will step forward. And what's interesting about this is that if you think about Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's an arrogant guy anyway. He comes across as a snob, like an arrogant kind of prick who's full of himself and probably thinks that he can just get women into bed with him through some kind of subterfuge, or like this one woman alleged that he did this hypnotic induction technique on her to try to get her into bed, and he called it an Indian handshake, and she was trying to leave, and he kept wanting her to stay, and he said that even physicists need a physical release, and he had her over to his house to have dinner, and the woman was trying to leave, and he stopped her and put his hand on her shoulder and said, "Here, let's have a handshake. Let me show you this Indian handshake," he called it, where you feel each other's pulse and you stare into each other's eyes. Well, guess what? That's an old school induction technique for hypnosis. Just trying to hypnotize this girl into sleeping with him. For a scientist to be resorting to hypnotic induction techniques to try to get a girl into bed with them? Give me a break. I mean, that's betraying not just the woman, but betraying his so-called skepticism. I mean, scientists say that there's no such thing as hypnosis. I mean, mainstream scientists, even though, of course, there is hypnosis, and the media is using it on the people all the time. But now, Neil deGrasse Tyson, according to this woman, used a hypnotic induction technique to try to get in her pants. That's just kind of sick, man. That's sick. Why would you try to hypnotize someone to sleep with you? I mean, you would think that he's popular enough, well-known. I mean, he's a celebrity. Wouldn't there be women that would want to sleep with him anyway? Why would he have to hypnotize women? You know, if that was his goal, just to sleep with somebody, you know, I guess movie stars and TV stars and celebrities like that, don't they have just women lining up? I don't know. I'm not that famous, so I don't know. But he's obviously famous enough to have women throwing themselves at him. But I guess he wanted that woman, and so he tried a hypnotic induction technique, and she didn't fall for it, and she reported it. She reported it to some kind of like a rape hotline or something the next day. So there's a record right after it happened. In other words, these women didn't just come up with this last week. These events happened in some cases years ago, in some cases more recently, but the women reported them. There's a record of what happened. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is lying if he says this didn't happen. Of course, he's a liar anyway, because he pushes propaganda for the globalists to push GMOs and pesticides, and he attacks chemtrails. You know, he attacks anybody who questions the safety of vaccines. You know, he is a puppet for the globalists, and they will try to protect him at all costs. They don't want the Me Too movement to take out Neil deGrasse Tyson. Gosh, he's too important for the science narrative of the globalists, which is all anti-human, by the way. It's all about depopulation, destroying humanity, you know, geoengineering the atmosphere to destroy the planet and so on. But they got to have spokespeople like Neil deGrasse Tyson to pull all that off, and they have to make sure they can be protected so they can continue their brainwashing and indoctrination. Personally, you know, I sat next to Neil deGrasse Tyson one time. Well, not right next to him, actually in the opposite aisle. He was in, we were both flying first class one time. This is back when I used to fly. And he sat in literally A1, the frontmost, leftmost seat in the airplane. And I was sitting also in first class on the opposite side of the aisle from him. I guess it's still A, but it's like A5 or whatever it was. And he didn't know who I was, but I observed him through the entire flight. And this was a flight to Houston. Yeah, I believe it was. It was either Houston or Dallas. Now that I think of it, I think we departed in Dallas. Maybe we flew out of Houston and landed in Dallas, and there was a connecting flight or something. But in any case, I observed him, and he had flight attendants coming up to him. and telling him how amazing he was and just giggling and flirting with him. These are flight attendants who were just fawning all over him. And I think that a guy in that position who has women just fawning all over him can very easily, if they don't have morals and ethics, which he obviously doesn't, they can very easily become kind of drunk with that kind of seduction power over women. And they can think that they should just have any woman they want, which is what it sounds like Neil Tyson was doing. He probably thinks that any woman should want to sleep with him. So it's just a matter of talking them into it or something like that. You know, it's twisted. It's sick, but I think that's the real person that Neil deGrasse Tyson is. I think he's a predator. I think he's a sex predator. And I think he's lying because it's pretty consistent. Somebody like that who would lie for the globalists and lie about science and lie about the dangers of GMOs and lie about the safety of vaccines and lie about geoengineering and chemtrails. Someone who would lie like that for the globalists, of course he would lie about raping women because he has no ethics. He's a liar. He is a bad person. He exploits his position of apparent authority and influence to bring harm to people. And if he's willing to harm the masses by pushing dangerous vaccines and dangerous GMO, glyphosate, herbicide, and pushing all of these toxic injuries for humanity, what would stop him from harming a woman by raping her? See, people who have no ethics in one area usually have no ethics in any area. And I mean, he's a rapist of humanity, not just a rapist of one woman, in my view. He's raping all of humanity in the name of science. He's a quack science mass rapist and a liar and an unethical person, which is why he's celebrated. Remember, I've done other podcasts on this. In this day, because everything's twisted, evil is celebrated. Truth is punished. So people who are evil are given TV shows and special contracts and social standing and given the chance to have YouTube channels, whereas people who tell the truth and who question the poisoners of our world, those people are attacked and smeared and slandered. They're censored, they're demonetized, they're cut off. And so just the fact that he's celebrated by the establishment tells you he's evil. Actually, that's all you need to know. Anybody. I mean, look at Bill Nye. Bill Nye, another, you can't even call him a scientist. He's a moron. Actually, he doesn't have any science credentials whatsoever. Bill Nye, also evil. Now they're out there pushing transgenderism in the name of science. Now pretending there's no such thing as XX and XY chromosomes. What chromosomes? I'm Bill Nye. We don't believe in genetics anymore. We're scientists. I mean, really? What a moron. Does he realize how stupid he sounds all the time? Running around saying that gender is a choice and genetics no longer has any impact. I mean, wow. At least Neil deGrasse Tyson hasn't done that. Maybe he might have raped women, but at least he didn't deny the existence of human chromosomes. I mean, it's just, these people are incredible. Like, which one's a rapist? Which one is a genetics denier? You know, which one is a depopulation pusher? These are almost inhuman people. They're almost demonic. So I'm not surprised at all to hear the allegation that Neil deGrasse Tyson has raped a woman and sexually assaulted 2 other women. And maybe there's more women yet to come out who have been intimidated because that's apparently the way he works. I bet you we'll hear more stories about this in the near future because I think Neil deGrasse Tyson is a dishonest, unethical, I think he's a rapist. And he's a rapist not just of one woman, which is bad enough, he's a rapist of humanity. And he rapes in the name of science. And that is pathetic. And that is deeply ingrained evil that he is involved with. And that's exactly why he's celebrated. So keep all this in mind. If you want to read some real science stories, go to my website, science.news. And if you want to know the truth about Neil deGrasse Tyson, just go to neiltyson.news, where we cover everything about Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, we got websites on Elon Musk and Hillary Clinton and lots of different people, even Bill Nye for that matter. In any case, think carefully about all this before deciding whom to believe on any given topic. And thank you for listening.
Learn more at healthrangerreport.com.
Thank you for watching. If you want to support our mission, visit us at healthrangerstore.com for the world's largest selection of lab-verified superfood and nutritional products for healthy living. It's at healthrangerstore.com.